Hey guys, it's LS. This is a vlog that's going to talk about the tweet that I made earlier, as well as the title of this video. Inside of this, I'm not going to talk about any of the recent drama that has obviously been popping up on Reddit, including MYM, so that's not what this video is about. This basically is just going to talk about my current position in League, free agent status, and all that other stuff. So let me just start by basically saying that I'm officially a free agent. Public coaching also resumed on February 1st. It's now February 11th, 2015. And yeah. So basically, I made a tweet earlier that said that if I didn't find a team that I would be happy to work with by the end of the month or so, I'm not going to be like super strict on that. Like, oh, well, there's only, how many days left? There's like 17 or something, or like, yeah, there's 17 days left in the month, right? I'm not going to be super strict about that, but like, whatever, There's only a few teams that I would actually like to work with, so I'll just actually start by saying that. But I'm open to all contact, so if like anyone wants to reach out to me and like talk to me and stuff, I can totally do that. And if like there's like oddball jobs or like temp work or something that you want, you're totally free to like contact me or whatever. Basically, the best ways to contact me, obviously, are through Facebook, Skype, or my email, which I can put in the description below. So if you want any of that stuff. But basically, it's the middle of the month, and I'm kind of getting fed up with a lot of the nonsense that's going on inside of the scene. Or not even necessarily pertaining to me, but I've said this to numerous people and stuff that it's kind of getting old that I don't know how to say this. Like basically, Saint Vicious made a tweet that I'm just gonna reference. I'm not saying anything about Saint, but he made a tweet, or he said something basically to the fact that like he doesn't think that anyone can coach inside of the scene, right? And he doesn't think that analysts or anything are necessary. And I tweeted at him, or I replied to that because it was in a conversation with Sky or something, that I completely agree. And the reason that I say this, and the reason that I'm going to be very arrogant and forward with my approach here right now, is that the reason that all these analysts and coaches started popping up like in the last year or so or something, or mostly in the last like few months since Riot made that rule, okay, is because they saw a job opportunity that suddenly became available and they decided, hey, I would like that role. But guess what? That's not how shit works, okay? In chess, right, sometimes, yes, international masters or like master level players can teach grandmasters, okay? Like they can actually coach the grandmaster, etc. But that's because they're very similar to them in terms of level. Now, I'm not saying that LO is related. I'm not trying to say like silvers can't coach challengers or golds can't coach challengers. No, that's not what I'm saying. But basically, you can't decide that, hey, I'm going to be an analyst, hey, I'm going to be a coach, because every analyst, every coach I've ever seen in the scene, except for like a few, literally I can count on my hands how many there are that I've seen, and I've seen quite a lot. They're not good, and they're not good for pros. It doesn't mean that they're not good like for other levels. The same way that like NFL, college football coaches, college basketball coaches, college baseball coaches, high school baseball, like obviously they're good. They're not good for pro players. And so basically all this stuff like popped up in the last few months, and so that's what basically Saint Vicious was referencing, and the thing that I agree with. And I say this because every analyst or every coach, I call them November coaches, because they only exist because of the Riot rule. And I know that's really arrogant, but I don't give a shit. Like League, this has become my life, and like this is like a community that I really fucking love. Like it's this League gives me like the same passion that StarCraft 1 did. When I was a kid and I would set my alarm clock to watch OGN every day at 3-4 a.m. So when you see people come into something that you love, and you see all this stuff happening inside of it, you can get a little bit pissed off, or like you can kind of view stuff negatively. And maybe I'm wording this very aggressively, and or maybe some people will interpret my aggression or something wrongly, and I don't mean that. But basically, what I'm saying is that it's very frustrating, because then what ends up happening inside of the scene is that there becomes this misconstrued opinion on what analysis and what coaching is. And analyst is a term that I hadn't even heard inside of the league scene until I joined Super Hot Crew, right? Because I didn't know what the hell an analyst was like, actually, like what is that, right? Like for league, I didn't understand it. And basically, when it comes to coaching, I can't tell you how many times I've heard from these people that call themselves really good analysts, or they call themselves really good coaches and stuff, that basically they tell me what they saw, okay, but they don't understand why, or they understand why the same way a caster understands why, and that doesn't make you an analyst. That doesn't make you a coach. So like if top laner A rotates to mid, and he goes to mid, and then from mid he goes to point C or something, and from point C team does X, right? If you just tell a team that that's what happens, and then you're like, oh, you should do this, the fact that you're fucking saying should, you don't know what you're talking about. It shouldn't be should. League, like every team I ever join, okay, I've said this too, and I also always say it to the management, like before I come on. League has absolutes. Like, it has absolutes up until mechanics, okay? There exists maneuvers, because Summoner's Rift is limited, right? It's a box. It always looks the same. Minions always, they do the same stuff in, whatever, except for like AI on minions. Like, if you join a single player game, sometimes bot, like, your minions will win. Other times, like, the enemies, minions will win, whatever. In League of Legends, there exists facts that are based on mathematics, and they're based on geometrics, okay? Like, for example, a champion that has 405 movement speed, if you, right-click from X location to Y location, okay, and you do it in a professional, optimal way, okay, assuming the highest level, then you know that the fastest possible distance. So when you make an analysis or an observation, okay, it always has to be up to the highest possible percent, okay? Whether or not your enemy is capable of hitting that percent is irrelevant, okay? But you have to know, and you have to entertain that the enemy can hit that percent, okay? And so basically, when you're doing all this stuff, okay, you have to know everything. You can't say should, you can't say possibly, you can't say maybe, you can't say, perhaps. No, that has no fucking place here. Like, maybes, perhaps, possiblies, should, etc. That's when psychological warfare comes in, like split pushes, and like that's when, lane psychology comes in. But that's not a part of rotational play. That's not a part of an analytical play. That's not a part of, like, observations. So many coaches and pros, right? Or not pros, but so many coaches and analysts that work for challenger teams, and they work for pro teams, etc. They don't know what they're doing, okay? There are these people that they saw a job opportunity existed, and they're self-proclaimed, and they take it upon themselves to force themselves onto that position, but they're undeserving. The funniest thing, there was a quote, I want to say it was by Rekrul in StarCraft 1, Dan Schreiber or something, now he's a poker pro, that it made all the sense in the world to me last night when I was laying in bed. Or maybe it was Testy, but basically there was a quote that it's on teamliquid.net, and I think it says, if you're trying to get good, you've already lost. And don't take that literal, right? It's like metaphorical, right? Or, it has hidden meaning. And basically, what I'm trying to tie into this is when Super Hot Crew contacted me, right? I got the message from Michael Schnorr, the former manager of Super Hot Crew, former manager of MYM. And he asked me if I had any interest in coaching an LCS team. And I didn't even know that existed, because at the time only Monte Cristo coached an LCS team. And I think I wasn't sure if when I received the message, I wasn't sure if Loco Doco was with TSM. And I didn't even know like that spot actually existed. I didn't even know like analysts actually like existed for professional teams. And so he asked me, do I have any coaching experience coaching teams? And I said no, but I've lived in like 6 different pro houses, right? Like I've seen a lot of different coaches. And the other thing that I told him is I've been either a pro or a semi-pro at like 6 different games, which I attribute to the Pareto principle. And so, he told me would I be interested in coaching the players? And I said, okay, but like, why is this happening? And apparently it was because Selfie said that he was learning a ton from all of my videos that I was uploading. And when you have a pro player like that, okay, saying that he's learning a lot from the videos and he is requesting that the manager reach out and contact me, that meant a lot to me, right? And I then, it was in that moment that I decided that why is the stuff that seems so simple to me, these pros aren't understanding, right? And then I knew that I knew so much more than it was ever actually being showcased inside of my public coaching videos. So I took to a TeamSpeak call with Mimer, Impaler, Phaler, Rollis, Selfie, and Michael. And I basically told them my goals and how I would go about coaching. And I told them that in League, I don't, I'm not one of the best players in the world. You're damn right. I'm not fucking rank 1 challenger, NA, rank 1 EU, rank 1. I'm not. You're right. My highest peak before master tier was Diamond 1, 34 LP. My highest peak right now is master tier, Korea, right? And whatever. Like I'm not this like pro LCS player. No, I don't have to be. And the reason that is because when I first came into League, I got so frustrated with how far behind I was, because I knew I was years behind. I had never touched a MOBA. If you watched the first videos of me playing League, level 7, to level 30 or whatever, I felt like it was like World of Warcraft. It was really weird to me. Everything was foreign. And so the way that I learned the game was I took a very mathematical approach, okay? Like I learned what movement speed, was, so I could predict stuff in the fog of war. I also applied a ton of stuff that I knew from poker mathematics, from Magic, the Gathering mathematics, if you've done point system in relation to cards. I took stuff that I knew about the economy understanding and movements inside of StarCraft. I took the stuff that when I was 12 years old, 13 years old, and I had nothing to do, Kaizen Master was my mentor. We used to study psychology and sociology because I found it fun, when I was bored and had nothing to do, I used to read my mother's medical books, because it was just interesting to me, to read about the human psyche and, everything, and read about why stuff works and, medicine and stuff, because I wanted to be a diagnostic doctor if I wasn't going to come into gaming. I think I talked about that in the Reflections with Thorin. So basically, I figured I had this arsenal of information, and I had seen so many different pro coaches, and I had seen how so many different pro players, some of the greatest players that ever played in certain games, most notably StarCraft 2, I got to see them practice. I got to see how they talked, how they communicated, etc. And I figured that I could turn that over to League. And I remember one of the things that I said to Mimer was, this doesn't mean that if we played 1v1 in top lane, you wouldn't kick my ass. But basically what I'm trying to do for you is that if you don't see something and I don't see something, maybe together, collaboratively, we can come together to see something. Or I want to try to open your eyes to see something and change your perspective so that you grow and that you become like water, so that you're not limited inside of a box, okay? Like Bruce Lee, you have to be like water. A punch is just a punch is more than a punch is just a punch, right? The 3 steps. So that was my entire philosophy with coaching, to find the absolutes, okay? Because there is absolutes, okay? If I open up, well, you guys can't see my screen. I have a VOD from an LCS analysis, okay? There are LCS teams, there's Korean pro teams that don't rotate perfectly, okay? Some people ask me, would I coach Faker, would I coach Apto? How could I coach Apto? How could I coach Faker? Because they're so much better than me. Just because they're better, it doesn't mean that they know everything, okay? If you're limited in that aspect, okay, like let's just use Smash Brothers as an example. If you go back to 2006, right, the king of Smash or something, Ken, right, you would maybe think, if someone came up to you and told you, you could play Marth 1,000 times better than what Ken was doing then, you would probably get laughed at. You'd be like, oh, you're just saying that for attention, blah, blah, blah. Like all the shit that I get on Ask FM when people say to me, like, I'm attention craving because I say Apto's the best in the world, or that Faker's, Faker's not even top 3 right now, and all this other controversial stuff. And they claim it's attention seeking. No. No. You have to stop looking at the shit that's presented to you, and you have to see the next step, okay? Smart people solve problems. Geniuses prevent them. That's one of the quotes that I live by with coaching. So when I do coaching, if I don't know something, I will state it. I will preface it by saying that I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but I think, okay? And so that gives leg room. That gives conversational stuff, okay? I'm the same type of person when it comes to runes and masteries that I approach it the same way Dandy did, where I want to min-max runes and masteries, okay? I want to know that if, Vi, for instance, can get away with not having 2 red marks or something out of the 7 reds or something, and it doesn't affect her clear time, but it benefits her overall damage, I want to know that, and there's been players that have made references, pro players, most notably Impaler, about like my rune and mastery as well as my rotational coaching. Is unmatched so far, or at least what I know. There may be coaches that I've never seen or something, or analysts I've never seen that, they know stuff or whatever. And I'm very arrogant when I come out and say that. And I've always offered to challenge any pro player or any pro coach or analyst or whatever in terms of who knows more. Or not necessarily who knows more, but who can present more, basically. And I'm not saying I know the most about League of Legends in the world, no. Because that would be foolish. You can't ever actually exalt yourself that highly or something. It would be detrimental to your growth. So basically, what I do think is that my knowledge going through 6 games, at a semi-professional and professional level, my knowledge of psychology, even though I don't have a degree. You're right, I didn't go to college for psychology. I didn't go to college for sociology and stuff. But I probably know much more than your average person. And I also know very well how it ties into games. And I know very, very well how it can be manipulated inside of games and stuff. And then when it comes to the mathematical aspect, I was always kind of intrigued by the mathematics inside of games. Always finding the best combos, or always finding the best point values, or like in Magic the Gathering, playtesting is what pros call it. To figure out the exact cards that go into a deck or something, and why something works the way that it does. I always valued viewing stuff with hidden text. This is some stuff that some pro personalities have talked about with me in the past. The first thing that comes to mind, like the memory or whatever, is Doa in Hearthstone, because I invented Handlock, one of the most game-breaking decks that ever, entered the game. I think it still exists in Hearthstone. And in one of the Turn 2 episodes on iHeartU, he talked about how I talk about hidden text a lot. And hidden text is basically an assumed value or an assumed assumption that can be given based off the face value text. And that's really important. And when I worked with Roar or whatever, and I spoke with some of the analysts that they had and stuff, I basically told them, stop giving me the conception, okay? You need to give me the seeds, okay? So basically what every analyst is doing right now is they give you the conception. And what I mean by that is they don't give you the sperm, they don't give you the egg. The sperm and the egg are extremely crucial to the foundation of coaching, but also understanding why something works. If you go back to LCS EU Summer Split, okay? There was a way to beat SHC every single game. Okay, there was just actually a very simple guideline that if you followed it, you would have always beat us every single fucking time. No one found it because they don't know where to look. And it's really frustrating, because one of the first things that I asked with SHC is I want you to give me the name of every Smurf and pro player. I want you to tell me if they stream. And I'm going to have people watch for cues, basically, inside of their gameplay. Because every player has a weakness, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, and every team has a weakness, okay? And you have to find those things. If you don't, then you're not working hard enough. And this is one of the things that I call myself lazy, and why I said that Kaizen Master will eventually surpass me in terms of coaching. And that's because I know that his work ethic, and he won't require other people to do it for him in terms of like giving them tasks and waiting for the feedback. He's very hands-on in that sense, where I have like a lot of people that work under me that will do some stuff. Like if I want 40 different runes and masteries on Vi run through jungle, I'll give it to 3 people and they'll report back to me in like a day or something with a Google document with everything listed out, all the clear times. I will have them run every trial 3 to 5 times to make sure that I'll take the mean average from it, and I will use the mean average, and then of course I will give the maximum pro value. For instance, if Vi clears dragon at 446, 448, 448, 442, and then 445, I will give the mean, like I will give you like the everything combined, and then obviously divide it, like the simple math. But then I will also list that the 442 exists, like with an asterisk, okay? And you always have to coach to the existence, not what the other player is capable of. The other thing that I did with Roar or something is that coaches and analysts, they always try to coach against the other team, and they always try to coach against what's going on. They never coach internally. And that doesn't make any fucking sense, because something that I always talked about it with Roar, I talked about it with SHC, talked about it with MYM, talked about it with pro players that I've coached. The only way to invincibility is through defense, okay? And I'm using that in a metaphorical sense to basically say that if you work on yourself, if you become perfect to yourself, you don't need all the answers, because your opponents can't ask you all the questions. That's it. You don't need to know, is Santorin and Bjergsen going to do this here? Are they going to do that here? Blah, 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 blah. You don't need all the answers, because Santorin and Bjergsen can't ask all the questions. No one has all the questions, so you don't need all the answers. It's really simple, right? So that's where my frustration comes in. When I officially went into the coaching role, a lot of people critiqued that my solo queue rating fell really, really low, and that's, rightfully so, because when I became the coach, I took it upon myself to do a lot of the boring shit. I took it upon myself to do all the, the math charts on everything, all the geometry charts. I took it on myself to, look for algorithms and like habits and all this other type of stuff that's important to League of Legends. And I watched a lot of OGN videos, and I would not just coach one team. This is something that maybe Roar or like MYM, SHC, or maybe other teams that I've done temp work for could attest to, is that in coaching sessions, I will not just coach my team. I will also coach the enemy team against my team to coach my team, which is essentially reverse engineering. And by doing that, you find the best possible options, and you always strive to be the best, and you try to strive to talk in absolutes. Now, going back to what I initially talked about with Saint Vicious, okay? Even if I say all this, and I said this to Thorin, okay? I said this to Thorin, I said it to Richard Lewis, I said it to Monty, like people that I talk to on a daily basis. I've even talked about it with some pro players and stuff. Even if I tell analysts and coaches this is what they need to do, even if analysts and coaches disagree with my opinion, that's fine, okay? At the end of the day, it is my opinion. This is how I work, this is how I operate, this is my belief. I've had more than enough success behind closed doors. I have more than enough pro players that have, talked about my coaching in private, my fives coaching, my one-on-one coaching, including Korean challengers and Korean pros that I've done coaching with, whether with a Korean translator on site, or if they speak English, they come to my house, or I meet them at a PC bong, etc. I've always gotten high regard. If I didn't, I wouldn't actually continue. It would be nonsense to speak like this without being willing to challenge or back it up. So going back to what the St. Vicious thing said, the main reason I was never bothered was that coaches and analysts can hear this. They can then know, okay, well, this is what I have to do. You're not going to do it because you can't do it, so I don't care. Like, you can't. You can copy. You know what I mean? Like, you can look at the test and you can see 2 + 2 = 4. You can go back to your test, 2 + 2 = 4. But then when the more complex equations come up and you have to know why, this result equals that, why this result equals that, why, blah, blah, blah. They can't do that. And until they learn how, which is why you can't just put on the pants and decide, I'm going to be a coach or an analyst, it doesn't really matter. 안녕하세요. 비디오. 왜? 왜요? 그래요. Until you do that, like, you're limiting yourself. But not only are you limiting yourself, you're hurting the people that you're coaching or teaching. If you're trying to coach or teach players that are reliant on you for their lives' sake, and that again goes back to like the high school football coach, college football coach, NFL football coach. Okay, so that's where I stand. I have, I'm more than confident enough. If any team wants to, if any team wants to challenge that, or if you need a coach, or you need an analyst, or whatever, although I don't really get the term analyst. I mean, I get the term analyst, but only if... I get the term analyst, but only if they're actually doing analytical work and not caster work. Okay, because when I see analysts go, LD, or I don't know, Samsung picked these champions here, so we're gonna pick the, nope, no, that doesn't work. Okay, you're basically telling me your opponent played this Magic the Gathering deck 6 times in a row, so you're gonna play this deck to counter it, but then you go up against him, and it doesn't matter that you have the deck that counters him, he pilots it better than you can just beat him with it, so it doesn't work. So anyways, yeah, it's an open offer. I'm a free agent, so if you want to contact me, contact me. I'm not going to go to teams that already have coaches or analysts because that's disrespectful and it's really rude. And I'm in no position to try to do something like that. I'm not for dirty stuff like that. And there's some teams that actually, they have coaches. I've listed this publicly, the two that I always say that I actually have a ton of respect for is Loco and Skara. And so, there's that. And then, there's, I was going to work with H2K, but then I didn't, but I'm also really confident that Prolly actually should do a good job. So, okay, I hope that makes sense. And I'll just continue to keep doing what I'm doing, and I hope this vlog sheds some light on a lot of stuff. Okay? So yeah, feel free to contact me. And feel free to call me an asshole or whatever. I don't care. Because I know what's fact and what's opinion. So, yeah. Okay. Bye.